Hi, I'm Nicholas Lodge and would like to introduce you to my Flower Pro Peony and Tulip Mold and Veiner. So this innovative product can be used to obviously create peonies and also create obviously tulips, okay? And so here we have, obviously there's small, medium, large and extra large, and these are the petals we would use for tulips or for peonies. This is the center for the Oriental Peony. So if you check out my YouTube with Katie Sue Designs Flower Pro on the Oriental Peony, you'll see how I use this. And then if you check out my tulip, the Parrot Tulip YouTube from Katie Sue Designs or YouTube with Flower Pro, you'll see how I use the stigma. This is the top of the tulip center, and also the little stamen mold. Now in this segment I'm going to show you the classic peony. So there are basically like two main varieties of peony: Oriental style, which I have on a separate YouTube, and that actually is a more open peony with stamens in the middle of it. And then we have the classic peony, which is the one used mostly for weddings, and the one that is like a cabbage or almost like a Brussels sprout. It's a round, it's built on a round ball. So we're going to get started first of all by making the center. Now for the center of the peony, we're going to use a ball of paste, alright? So this is a ball of gum paste, flower modeling paste, okay? This needs to dry for basically 8 to 12 hours because obviously it's a fairly large paste. Some people, and you can use an alternative like a 1.5 inch size styrene or styrofoam ball, which is something a lot of people do because they wanted to work on it straight away. But I'm showing you how to do this with obviously using paste, alright? So as long as you have this dry. So we're going to start off with 3 18 gauge wires, and I'm going to take these are half length wires, and about 15 millimeters down from the top of the wire, okay, so 15 millimeters, just about just over ½ of an inch, we're going to take with some half-width floral tape. So I'm going to just start here with my floral tape, and just make sure before you really tape down that this is approximately, as I said, 15 millimeters, so just slide the tape down if needed. So you can see from the tip of the wire to where the tape starts is 15 millimeters. And then we're going to just tape down. Now this is a technique I found that works better for a ball shape. In some of my other segments and obviously YouTubes, like for example the center of the lily and the center of the tulip, I start off with 3 wires, obviously much thinner than this, for the trefoil shape, for the stigma for the top. Here, this is the technique I use for flowers like Gerber daisies and sunflowers. Gerber daisy, typically I use 3 wires like this, a sunflower 6. And then we're going to open this up, so just taking a pair of pliers. I'm going to open this up with my pliers here. And I'm actually going to bring it down, so it actually is coming down. It's a little bit more than a right angle. So then the second one will come down like this. You'll see why in a second. Now when you're doing, for example, like when I do a sunflower or a Gerber daisy, the wire is going up there at around a 15-degree angle. Okay, but here we're actually just going to bring this down, so it's almost like a crook like that. Okay, so a bit like a spider leg shape. And then you're going to take a number 15 size ball of paste. So this is, as I said, sits in the size guide, so number 15 size. And if you have time to let these dry for 2 or 3 days, you could use half flower modeling paste or gum paste and half sugar paste or fondant, so like 50-50 paste. And you can even, if you let these dry for like a week, you could even use sugar paste or rolled fondant, okay? But obviously depending on your time restraints or if you have when you need to work on them. So anyway, so what we're going to do now is going to just take the egg white on here, or edible glue onto there. I'm just going to take this, I'm going to thread this down through the top of this, okay, and you're going to pull this down into here. So you pull it down into the top like this, alright, so it looks a little bit like a Chinese dumpling. And I'm going to twist the wire, so I'm just going to twist it so that the wires become a little bit embedded, and you're just going to just pinch around the top here. Now you don't need to worry too much about this because it's going to, of course, be covered, okay. So you're just going to basically just make this ball shape like this. And then what you would do here is once you've got the ball here, you're going to then put this, I generally put this into, you can stand this up or you can put it into like a crate foam former like this, just to dry, okay? And you can do them upside down, and this just sort of supports the weight of it, but you could also stand this into a cake dummy or a styrofoam block. On my Oriental Peony instructions, or YouTube, I show how to obviously make these wired. Here we're going to do basically some of these petals unwired for the first part to create almost like the cabbage or the Brussels sprout shape, and then we're going to do some wired following the directions from the Oriental Peony. So we're going to start off with a number 7 S size ball of paste. So it's going to be a number 7 small. Alright, so that just wants to just go through the number 7 hole. And then you would measure off another 4 balls the same size and put those underneath a little cup, okay? Because we're going to be making 5 of these. I'm going to, when we make the peony, so the technique is exactly the same. The only difference is we're just omitting putting a wire in, okay? So when you make the wired petals or unwired petals, the same. You're going to make this into a little, almost like an elongated cone shape or like a carrot shape, which wants to be about 2/3 of the height of the mold, okay, or the recess. And then you've got, going to put just a little cornstarch onto that, corn flour, and then you can either press the back of the vena, the flat side down, just press that onto it to flatten it, or you can actually just place it into the carrot, place it into the actual cavity, and you can press it in while it's in the cavity, okay, so whichever you prefer to do. So if you don't have a little silicone mat, this is probably the option I would suggest. Then we're going to take your Here we're going to use your cosmetic sponge. I'm just going to push the paste to the edge of the mold, so this will give it thinner, this will make it thinner on here. So if you watch my Oriental Peony YouTube, you'll see how then I create like a little ridge with my fingers here, and then I would insert the wire. So you dip your wire into egg white, insert it into there, then you press the vena on the back, and then take it out. But everything else is exactly the same, it's just we're not putting a wire into these because we don't need wires on the initial petals. So then what we're going to do is going to take the back of the vena, just going to line that up, just going to press this on. Okay, so this is going to come out of the vena. Now you can see this is a heavier veining, this is a slightly lighter veining, so you'll see this also used on the wire. So on the side that's facing you, so when you take it out of the mold, don't turn this over, just on the lightly side, less vein side, we're going to use your Dresden tool, and with your Dresden tool we're going to now frill the top half of the petal. So you're going to use your Dresden tool on its side, alright, and we're going to just sort of frill around the top half of the petal. So this is done on the, basically what will be the back of the petal. You're then going to turn this pad over, the mini pad, you're going to turn over, so now you see we're on the heavy vein side, and then we're just going to work from the outside to the inside, so this is going to create your lovely petals, okay? Now when you make the peony, so remember we need 5 of the small size, so then what I would normally do is just put that underneath another cup. So you just would put it underneath another cup, then you would then do the second, the third, the fourth, the fifth, okay? You could also put these into a small zip top bag. So as you make them, you can put them into a small zip top bag like this. So actually, sorry, you need 6 of these petals, all right? So 6 of these petals total for this first one. Now on the Oriental Peony, I used 5 because those were wired, but here we're using 6. So we start off with 6 number 7 small size balls of paste for the first stage. Now we're going to take those petals, alright, so I have some already made here, and on the first 6 petals we're going to actually have the heavier veining, which is here. That will be actually on the outside, okay, so this is the heavier veining, so we're actually going to turn your petals over to the less veined side. You can see this side doesn't, it's not quite as heavy, okay, you can just have those underneath a little cup. Let's put that one there as well, okay, and then we're going to start building these. Now what we're going to do is going to take the first 2 petals, alright, we're going to do 2 petals at a time, and generally I would just pop those onto a little pad like this, or a larger pad, and I'm going to brush some egg white. So on these first ones I'm going to brush the egg white just sort of really over about 2/3 of the way down the petal. Now on the first stage of the peony, we want these petals to like overlap, so that either they can go like this or like this, but they're going to basically come up, so they're going to cover over the center. So this is almost like the center where the dot is, where the wire went in. So you see what I'm going to do is I'm going to come up a little bit past it, and I'm just going to sort of pinch the petals so you create this like little pleats in here, and then you're going to take the other one. You see that's just going to come over the other side, so it's going to cover over the top of this, and again you're just going to pleat this like this. And of course these first petals are not coming down very far, okay, because you're building on top of the ball, okay. Then you're going to then take another 2 petals. So you do like 2 at a time. So you're going to do 2 of these petals here. And you're going to, now on these ones here, all you need to do is just brush your egg white just down in like 3 lines. Side, down the middle, about 2/3 of the way down, but just a line, a line, a line. The first ones you need to brush egg white all over 2/3 because obviously there's a little bit more contact. Now, what we're going to do is, my thumb is we're going to put 1 petal here and 1 petal there, then the fifth petal and the 6th petal here, okay? So you're just going to just place the petals. So these will come down just a little tiny bit lower, okay? And again, you can see how I'm doing these like little pleats onto here. So you're just going to do some little pleats onto these petals just to make sure that they're, so you see how you're just going to push these on, so you create this almost like a cabbage style. You know, some people actually call this cabbage style peony. But so remember, on these first 6 petals we're doing, the heavier veining will be on the outside, okay? And then your last 2 petals will come here. So over here and here. So remember, the heavy veining will be on the outside. So again, you're just going to brush some egg white. 1, 2, 3. And then these will go on the opposite side here. I'm just going to put this on. If you need a little tiny bit more egg white, you can do. But you're almost just squashing this up, so you see how you're going to create this nice shape, okay? And then the 6th and final petal will just go on here. But just create these little pleats on there. So just almost like just sort of pleating up the top, you see? So that's going to create the top of the peony. But you see, so these are the original petal here and here, okay? And then you can see we have the 2 petals here, we have the 2 petals here, okay, which come down a little bit. Now, when you've done that, you want to then do the bud, if you wanted to make a bud. Now, when you make the bud, all right, basically what you're going to do is you're going to go to the, watch the YouTube video on rose cones, all right? So this is obviously my rose cone mold here, okay? And what you're going to do is you're going to follow the directions, or in the book, you're going to follow the directions for an all-in-one cone. So what you'll do is you'll take this is a large cone, so you're going to take an 18 gauge green wire, or white wire, wrap half width floral tape 10 times, make a hook, and then go around 20 times, like this, okay? And then what you'll actually do is you'll do the all-in-one cone, which means you're going to measure a number 13 small ball of paste, and then for the large cone, and then what you actually do is you're going to take the, obviously this will be more of a cone shape, you rotate it into the mold, like you'll see on the videos, you rotate this, and then all I then do is I just chop off the top of the cone, and then of course, so you create a ball, okay? This is also the same technique I showed for the quick peony as well, for making the buds on the quick peony, and for actually the center of the quick peony I made these. So just like the cones, so generally speaking you would make these 2 at the same time and then let them both dry, okay? So ideally, you know, leave them overnight to dry, and then you're going to use that for your bud. Now, when you do the bud, you do exactly the same. You're going to do 6 petals, okay? So you're going to do 6 petals onto here. So I'm just going to show you the last 2 because it's really exactly the same as the larger cone. I've just got these in little bags, so this just helps to remember, heavy vein side goes down here. Alright, so it's the heavy vein side down, and you're going to take your, and so I've already got 4 of the petals on. Now the difference is here, these are the first 2 petals there. They actually start directly at the wire because this is only basically approximately about 1 inch, if about 2.5 centimeters, whereas obviously the large one is about is obviously a lot bigger, okay? So you're going to put 1 here and 1 there, and then you'll put in the last, then you'll put 2 this side and 2 this side. So here, all of them, when you put them on, start at the wire. So you just, what I normally do here is I just hold the tip of the petal, and you're just going to just scrunch that on and almost just push that up like that. And you see how this is going to, so you see how you're going to create the little pleats like that, and you're going to get your nice shape on your bud. Alright, so you just sort of squash that up, and this is how you would create the peony bud. So this will have a calyx on a little bit later, okay, and that will be ready for coloring and finishing off. And this bud is also the same way you would make oriental peonies, because I actually have in this new series of Flower Pro videos or YouTube, I have 3 different peony instructions. I have one for a quick peony, which is made with my 5-petal rose blossom cutter. I have also the oriental style peony, which is all totally wired petals. And then this is the classic peony, which is a combination of wired and unwired petals. petals, okay? But so as I said, if you're making buds for any three of the flowers, but especially for the Oriental and Classic Peony, you'd use this technique here. Now we're going to move on to the medium-sized petals, all right, which you repeat in exactly the same way. So this is the medium size here, and these are going to be number 8 small size, okay? So this is going to be number 8 small, and this will be done in exactly the same way. And then these, you actually just need 5 of these, okay? And I've got these pre-made. So again, heavy vein side, all right, so you're just going to turn this over. There we go, 2, and the 3, 4, and 5. You'll notice the veining a little bit more on the bigger petals because obviously you're using the full, and the actual veining becomes a little bit heavier, especially in the bigger size petals, okay? And so now we're going to take a couple of petals at a time. So again, we're going to just brush the egg white. So just going to brush down. Here I'm going to go about halfway down. So I'm just going to do it like 3 lines, okay? And then you're going to now put these petals on. And so these petals will just sort of start in a gap, okay? So it doesn't matter where you start, so I'm just going to sort of start in a gap here. And you're going to put this petal on, so it's going to become about level with the top here. It's still not going to go quite the way down to the bottom. And again, you're just going to just push this on like that. And you're going to take then the second one, which will overlap just very slightly. All right. And this is going to go on to here as well. So these first 2 layers are going to be pretty much the same in that you're putting the heavier veining side on the outside because we want to see the heavy veining on the outside of the ball, okay? When we move on to the other petals, because they're going to be opened out more, and the wide petals, your heavy vein will be on the inside because as the flower opens, you want to sort of see the heavier veining, okay? And then you're just going to put on the third one. So this will be the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. But just use a little bit of glue as needed. So this will be your fourth one here. Okay, and then the fifth one will go on like this. So we're going to just put the fifth one on. And the fifth one will actually tuck underneath the first one, alright? So petal number 1, which is going to be here, just tucks on the top, so you create this like a sort of a spiral, okay? I'm just going to just sort of squash these petals on because you want to create this nice tight center of the peony, okay? I'm just going to just make sure you press these on. What I normally do is just put it between my hand like that. You see how you can actually like almost just scrunch that up. That's going to create your nice, your nice sort of peony center. So of course, if you were going to wanting to make like a whole spray of peonies for a wedding cake, if you just at this point you just almost like just squash the paste, there's enough thickness there that you covering over the ball, you can actually make that as sort of like a sort of a bud, like a larger bud basically, all right? So now what we're going to do is going to move on to using a 9 small size, which is going to be the large size petal, which will be this size here, okay? So with the 9 small size, okay, with this one here, you're going to use exactly the same technique. And then what you'll actually do there is you'll cut off here about 10 millimeters off the end, okay? So when you actually take that out of the mold, you're going to cut off on the end of this about 10 millimeters, okay? So which we've already done here. So you just literally cut off that part. And what that means is that we're going to make like almost an in-between petal size, all right? Between the medium and the large. Now, so what we do here is we're going to now just do some little pleats on there. So you're almost going to make like little, like a little box pleat. And you're going to do this with the heavy vein side up. So you're just going to make like little tiny pleats here. And see, I'm just going to just pinch that with my fingers. Now I use this technique quite a lot on flowers because we have within this set there are obviously four sizes of petal, okay? But we want this flower has a lot of petals on it. But the thing is, we want to end up with the petals so they're not too big. So we're actually using the large size but cutting down, so it almost gives you an intermediate size. Now on these petals, all right, we actually are going to put the egg white or the glue on the heavy side, okay? So again, you're just going to sort of brush here about halfway down the petals. 1, 2, 3. If you work fairly fast, you can obviously just do all 5 of these petals at the same time. Now these petals are going to go on, and what we're going to do here is going to just sort of take the petal. Alright, so this wants to go again about level, okay? Just going to just pleat this, and this will go on to here like this. And then what we're going to do here, we're going to just sort of tuck the petals under. So now we're going to start this sort of tucking underneath, okay? So we're just going to tuck underneath this next one. Because these petals will have a little bit of foam underneath them, so they're going to be, these will be a little bit more. So you see the egg white side is going to go down on these. You see, so you're creating this sort of ball shape, okay? Now, of course, using a paste cone is going to be a little bit heavier than say a styrene cone or styrofoam cone, but you can use styrofoam cones you'd buy at a craft supply store, and there you generally would use like a 1.5 inch size on that. So you see how you create this almost like a sort of spiral, you see? So you can see how the left hand side of each petal, so as we're looking at it, the left hand side will come over the top like that. So you see left hand side, left hand side, left hand side, like that. And again, each time you do this, you're going to create this sort of you know, like this, obviously like cabbage style. Okay, and then we're going to hang this. So using going to use like a large hanger. So you just would hang this so that as you do each layers. All right, so this is going to just sort of hang on the hanger here. Now then we're going to then move on to the next layer, which is actually the last layer of the unwired one. So this is going to be the same size here. This will be the large size one, okay, so small, medium, large. So this is going to be the number 9 small, but then these ones haven't been cut down, okay? So you actually have, so you have 6 of the small size, all right, so 6 small size, so you've got like 2 on, then 2 and 2, and then you have 5 of the medium size. Then you actually have 10 of the large size. Remember, this is all going to be in your instructions and in the book, but 10 of the large size. 5 of them you're going to cut 10 millimeters off the bottom, and then the other 5 will just be as is. Now the peony is going to now start to sort of open out, okay? So we're going to take your, so again, these petals here. So you see how we're going to place these petals on like this. We're going to put the egg white down here, so about halfway down. And you could also do like what I'm showing you is you could actually build or have all your petals made in little Ziploc bags or pag bags, and then you can just attach them. So then this one here, all right, so these ones are going to go on. So these will actually, they will start at where the wire is, okay? So because these are obviously not cut down, okay? So you're going to just tuck this on here, all right, and then you're going to then, petal number 2 is going to tuck inside petal number 1. Okay, you're going to just mold this on. So remember, the heavier side on these ones is going to be obviously in the inside, because as the peony opens, this will be the 3rd petal here. Okay, and then you're going to have the 4th petal and then the 5th petal. And then we're going to put some sponge pieces underneath these outside petals, okay? And then we're going to move on to the, okay, so you see how you're just going to mold this around the bottom. Remember how I showed you, just go through your finger like this. You see, so you hold it on your hands. You see how this is going to start to now open up, all right? And then you're going to, what we're going to do is going to take some sponge pieces. So we're going to take some, just some sort of sponge pieces like this, just fairly small, okay? And then you're just going to put some sponge pieces just underneath those outside petals, okay? And you can do this under this sort of the outside 2 layers, okay? So the easiest way to do this is just to take your, so again, hold this like an ice cream cone. You can see how you have the petals here. So you can just sort of open this out. So this will be your sort of spiral. And then what you're going to do here is going to just take a little piece of sponge, and you're going to just tuck this into the petals here. So this is going to go into this will go into that sort of layer that's been cut down, okay? So the 3rd one is going to come here. Sometimes you get a little bit of static on your foam, which is I'm using here beading tweezers. These are silicone tip tweezers here. So it's going to give you the petals here. Okay. So one petal, two petals. This is this one here. And then just put that underneath your petals there. Okay. And then you're going to take turn the flower upside down, and hopefully the foam pieces will stay in place. And then you're going to now take, so you see what I'm doing now is I'm going to put foam pieces underneath. So, when you watch my YouTube for my flower pro on my roses, this is very much like when I do my roses. You want to do this with the flower in the upside down position, all right? And so you can see how your foam pieces are in there like that, okay? And then you're going to put that to dry. So now we're going to move on to make the wired petals. So wired petals will be made obviously in the mat with the back, and you just do exactly the same as I've just shown. But if you pop over to my YouTube on the Oriental Peony, I actually have show how to do the wired version of that. And of course the only difference between these are the Oriental Peonies, which are pale pink, and we're using just a brighter pink here. And once you have made these, now with for production work, you're going to be making 10 of the large size petals, which will be this size here, wired. Alright, so that would be like this size. And obviously when they're colored, I've already done some of the color, and these are obviously done in the brighter pink. They will be like this. These are actually dried in the former here. This is just in a crepe foam former, so you just would do the 10 of those into a crepe foam former to dry. And then the extra large size one, we're going to make 5 of these, but just like on the Oriental Peony, you could make 10 of these or you could make 15 of these, because all peonies start off the same way, but the bigger the flower you want, the more petals you have. So especially these outside petals, as I talk about on the Oriental Peony. On the Oriental Peony I showed 10 outside petals with the extra large size, but you could also do 15 or 20, and it's the same with this one. We're going to just do 5, but we could do 10 or 15 or 20. And these are obviously go on a 24 gauge wire, and that's all in your instructions in your packaging. And then these would be dried into this is about a 6 centimeter egg former, which I talk about on the Oriental Peony. So you could just dry these to dry in the egg former. So we now need to let everything dry. So we need to obviously let this part of the flower dry. We need to obviously let the petals dry, and then we're going to come back once they're dry and show you the coloring, then also the calyx on those. Okay, so I'll see you in a moment. So now we're going to move on to the next stage of the peony. So obviously we've dried our flower upside down, our petals have dried. So now we're going to tape those. So we're going to just tape these with half-width floral tape. I'm going to tape down about approximately 2.5 centimeters, about 1 inch down the stem. I'm going to use on this one a bright pink, a fuchsia. So I'm going to take a fuchsia color here, and then I'm going to put some fuchsia onto here. And then once we get the fuchsia, so very similar to like the parrot tulip or the Oriental Peony, we're going to just brush the fuchsia color around the edge. I'm going to do this front and back. And then we're going to then cut in with the brush. So we're going to do these sort of stripes. So they're going to come from the top coming down. So usually, 4 or 5 stripes. Of course, on the smaller petals, usually 2 or 3 stripes. And then we're going to just do some, see the color comes down from the outside to the inside here. And then you would do that obviously on all of the petals. So we've got 10, remember, large size petals. So we've got 10 of this size, and then we have 5 extra large. But remember, you could make this with 10 or 15 extra large, depending on how big you want the flower, how open. Okay. On the bud, it would be done in exactly the same. And on the flower as well, to the flower center. Alright, so again, you're just going to do these sort of stripes on your flower center like this. You're going to get this sort of stronger pink in stripes onto this. Now then you're going to take your green, so we're going to use prairie green, which is a soft green here. So with prairie, I'm going to put some prairie green, and then we're going to brush this in a stripe. So just like on the parrot tulips or the other peony, the Oriental Peony, I'm going to do 3 stripes of green on the front and 3 stripes of green on the back. So you're going to just have this like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So a nice subtle color. and on the flower as well. So you're just going to do, on the flower, just do like 2 or 3 stripes. You're just going to do stripes around the bottom here, okay? Now the bud, I've already done the bud and I've already got the calyx on, so again that's exactly the same. So you're going to do the pink and then you're going to just brush up from the bud, from the bottom here. This is done, it was done after the calyx is on here. On the flower you're going to put the calyx on and then you generally dust this, okay? But you could also dust the bud then put the calyx on, whichever is more convenient, okay? I'm going to show you the... And then once we've done that, we're going to move on to the assembly. Okay, so when we assemble the flowers, so we're going to start off first of all with the smaller petals. So these are the 10 small size petals here. So if you watch the other 2 peony tutorials, obviously the Oriental peony has actually 25, 30 or 35 wired petals. This peony here has, obviously you've got petals which are built on to create the first part of the peony, and then you're going to then start to put these on. Now when you put these petals on, so if you were to put the petal right there, you see how it really like opens up. So when you put the first petals on, what we're actually going to do here, we're just going to keep the wire straight, and then I'm actually going to have a little bit of a gap. You can see a little tiny gap here between the bottom of the flower and the bottom of the wire, you see? So that means that the petal will sort of go in at an angle, all right? And this is because we want the flower to not have that sort of big diversion between the inner petals and the outer ones. So you see how you're almost going to have like a little cavity here. All right, and then you're going to do the third one. So you see how this is going to sort of sit on to make the petals. So the third one, the fourth one, and the fifth one. You see how it's going to give you the shape here. But we use this this technique I use a lot, but it's just that if you found that because if you actually bend the petals and you put them directly at the bottom, it's just going to be suddenly too open. You see how you're just going to take these petals now and you're going to put these now, because this will all disappear when we get the rest of the petals on, you see? So you can see there's actually like a little bit of a sort of a gap between there. So this will give you the first 5, and then we're going to do another 5 of these petals here. And then these petals will go on to here. So the same technique. So 2, then 3, 4, 5. It's a little bit heavier than the Oriental style peony, because this peony is, of course, has a, if you're going to use the way I showed you, this is going to have a paste ball of paste, so that's obviously going to make it a little bit sort of heavier. But you can also remember, make the center out of styrene ball. So you're just going to put these petals on like this, and then we can then take the remaining 5 petals, which are going to be the larger ones, and these ones are actually going to sort of just bend slightly at the bottom, and you see they will actually sort of sit right into there like so, you see? So you're going to have this sort of like almost a cavity in there, like a cage, but you actually really won't see that, because once these petals are on, and then also once you get a calyx on there, that is going to hold this all into place, okay? So you're just going to put on the second one, and then the third one. So this is going to be here. So then I'm just going to put this on here, and then the fourth and the fifth one, okay? But again, you can take this to whatever stage you want this to be, you know, so depending on how big the cake is, you can put this on to obviously whatever level you want. So I'm showing both the peonies fairly large, okay? But of course you could make this a lot smaller just by, you could just do 10 large size petals, or you of course can add even if you wanted to make it fuller, you can obviously add another 5 or another 10 of the extra large size ones. So you're just going to just tape down here, and just going to tape down to the bottom here like that. Again, you're just going to just check your positioning of your petals. Alright, so it's going to give you a sort of peony. And then we're going to take your calyx. Now, if you haven't watched my quick peony, all right, so on the quick peony I show how to make a calyx. So this is actually made, so you can watch this tutorial. It's on the quick peony. This is green paste number 3 thickness on the pasta machine, cut out with my Pro Cut cutter, the 70mm size one. Cut in half, then each of the 2 halves, full ones are cut in half again, so you get 2 calyxes per. And then I've just widened it on the pad, and then I've put it onto, just trimmed off the edges. And this is a great way to make a very nice calyx for peony buds or for peony flowers. So you can see here, obviously on my peony bud there. So a different shape to a rose calyx. It's a sort of more natural shape, and you can use a blossom cutter, which is the sort of way a lot of people make peonies, and is the way I used to make peony calyxes, but I found this works really, really well. So what you do here is just going to put this on, just sort of open this out a little bit, and then I'm going to just put some egg white onto here. So just going to put some egg white, and again this is going to just be used for the peony. Okay, so just going to take this, just going to put this through. So it's going to go through the cosmetic sponge here. I'm going to bring this up. It's going to just come around, and what you actually do here is you're going to just sort of take this around. So you see how you're actually just going to position this. So you're going to put each. This is going to go on these outside petals here, like that, and then you're going to press this on. So 3, 4, and this will be my last one here. Just going to move this across a little bit. So this will be my 5th one, okay? And just going to then just press this down, okay? Just going to press this down. So on the flower, this is actually going to sort of sit on each of the petals, and is going to be fitted like this, okay? So this is going to be fitted like this. So this will give you the calyx. And then what you would do is on the bud, so when you do it on the bud, you're of course going to, you only brush the egg white about 2/3 the way up on the bud, and you peel it back a little bit, all right? So it's basically fitted, so you pretty much put the egg white all over. But you see, you can't sort of see the interior part of this because the calyx. And plus, once it's dry, the calyx is going to hold this. Now, typically at this point, I would then take my peony, and I would normally just hang this upside down. So just hang this upside down and then let it dry, okay? And then once it's dry, then you would come back and you'd use a little bit of foliage green, which is a darker green. I'm going to show you that now. But as I said, normally you'd let this dry. And then you're just going to put a little bit of the foliage green, which is this darker green, just sort of around the edge of the peony. And of course you can add leaves to this. And we have a separate video of how to make the peony leaves, which is made in my new peony, and I've already done that on the bud. And then what you would do here is at this point you would then going to just steam it. But of course, as I said, you let this dry a little bit first. I'm just going to steam it just to sort of show you how that enhances it. And then you would, but just leave this to hang upside down, because what will happen is, if not, we want the calyx to dry to hold the petals, to hold everything together. And then you would gently steam this. So just bringing in my steamer here. There we go. So just going to just gently steam your peony here. Just going to gently steam the back of it. Okay, and then on the bud, we're going to again just steam the bud. I've already put the foliage green onto that. So this will just enhance this. And so this is going to give you obviously your beautiful peony. All right, so obviously you have the beautiful peony and the peony bud. But remember, as I said, you can make this with, obviously we could add another 5 of the extra large petals, or another 10 of the extra large petals. So if you, as I said, watch the Oriental Peony, on the Oriental Peony I used actually 10 of the extra large size. So really, as I said, there are options on size of cake. But of course this is a huge flower, so if you wanted to make a smaller flower, you could just make literally like 5 wide large petals or 10 large petals, and so your peony would be that sort of size, okay? So, but it depends on really, as I said, scale or size of your cake. So that is going to be your peony. And as I said, little obviously we're going to be putting these together onto a cake. So we have a totally separate tutorial, a video tutorial YouTube, which is going to be sort of finishing touches and putting flowers onto cakes. So all of the new Flower Pro products, all of the new, like the lily, the calla lily, all of those, I will be showing how we would actually use those onto cakes. We've had feedback from our Facebook group, have asked about, putting flowers, arranging flowers onto cakes. So I'm going to just show you some different options for some fun ways to present your flowers to your client. I hope you've enjoyed this tutorial, and I'll see you again real soon.